My name is Vimbai Tsododo. I'm the managing director with Tuso Business Dynamics, but I also serve as senior technical advisor for IHM. IHM is a strategic information partner that works with governments in the Southern African region, mainly around building capacity for systems to access and utilize data. Tuso is the technology arm for IHM. It's an independent entity, but it drives the technological innovations behind the work that we do. So CDPI already had some level of engagement with the government of Zambia. As IHM, we have a technological partnership with Smart Zambia, which is the e-government division in Zambia. That technology partnership allows us to iterate and research and push the objectives of Smart Zambia and the government of Zambia around digitization and technology. So it's part of a form or the ongoing journey around private-public partnership. As a result of that, it is in some of those engagements, such as the Global DPI Summit, where you end up meeting with different organizations such as CDPI, and that's essentially where I can say our journey began with them. A lot of the focus has been more on defining DPI, defining that journey and the direction in which it is moving. Tied to that is capacity building around the same. DPI is relatively a new old concept, if I can say that. It hasn't been around 10, 15 years, but in the last 3-4 years, particularly post-COVID, it has really started gathering a lot of steam. So with CDPI, and part of the work that we already did touches on components of DPI, particularly around the three main pillars, if you want to call them, depending upon who you speak to. They are different, but mainly identity, financial payments, and data exchange. So in our previous work, we've made some great strides around identity and around data exchange mainly. And so with CDPI, we've been able to start looking how we package that work along DPI, how we get the standards of the work that we do to start ticking off the boxes within DPI. And so that has essentially been our journey with CDPI of late. One of the things that they did arrange for us, two things that they arranged for us was one, a DPI immersion to India that got us to meet other organizations that have really been on this journey a lot longer, to see possible areas of collaboration, what building blocks are available that we can then pick up and use in our own context. They also arranged for my development team to participate in a training at IITB around the whole area of DPI and those particular concepts. One of the projects that we've been working on in Zambia is the integration of eKYC with the health system in the country. And so part of that capacity building that they arranged for was really instrumental in getting the team to start working with some of the platforms like MOSIP, like eKYC, that were being adopted in other sectors. It's a little difficult to speak to, given that outcomes and impact is usually the tail end of implementation, and we are essentially at the beginning of this particular roadmap. Can we speak of outputs? Yes, we through the learnings, through the capacity building, we've integrated eKYC with the health system. For example, we're starting to look at how some of the products that we've developed for the health sector can then transition to become digital public goods, giving them a much broader implementation beyond just the sector or the country that we are operating in, for example. So those are some of the work that we've been doing. The immediate outputs of it is, one, the integration is done, it's been tested, it works around eKYC. And so now the next question is, how can we bring other sectors to take advantage of that particular building block? Two, our team attending the training in India, the DPI immersion, has built capacity. And since coming back, it was a small group that we sent. They've come back and have begun mentoring and also building capacity in the junior team that they work with. We also have an internship program that we run with some of the universities. And so again, there's that skills transfer from the senior team that went to the training into that. So there are all these number of outputs that are coming in. As a result of those outputs, I think the outcomes that we're then looking to have both in the short term and the long term is, one, a much bigger and stronger community of practice of individuals who, even as they leave university or they're working in their space, whether it's fintech, health, agriculture, education, they're thinking about DPI and its principles. They are thinking about open source. They are thinking about reusability. They are thinking about inclusivity, etc., which then has a much broader impact in terms of public service delivery and outcomes for the citizens within that particular country. So we do have a number of outcomes. Maybe when we have this conversation a year from now, we'll be able to speak to those outcomes and start looking at the impact that the work has had. But more immediately is just the way, I think what DPI forces you to think about as you think about the products and the solutions is to think about those very outcomes and impact that you're going to have on the community. So I can almost conjecture to say that one immediate outcome is just that broadened thinking by those who are working in the space. So before it's, here's a product, how do I get it? My return on investment is the bottom line. To, here's a product, I need to get it out. But beyond the return of investment of the bottom line, is it solving a problem in the community? Are there use cases that this product is solving for? And as a result, are we improving and bettering the communities that we live in, that we work in, that we exist in? The most important aspect for that collaboration for me is, one, the ability to then move from here's a problem, here's a solution, now we are scaling. Without the collaborating efforts, if I have a problem I'm trying to solve for, I am getting people together, we are thinking about a solution, and then we are starting from scratch to build it. Now, if I can use a biblical term, there's nothing new under the sun, which I take to basically mean that whatever problem I'm facing, someone somewhere else in the world is facing a similar problem. It may be a different context, but the problem is similar. So if they don't have access to water, The reasons for it may be different, the context may be different, but the problem is still the same. You don't have access to water. So as I tried to solve that by sitting in a room where we are collaborating, I may then hear that in Brazil, this is how they've solved for it. And if they follow DPI principles, then they are building blocks that I can take there and come and immediately begin to customize and implement for my situation and my scenario. Might not take all of it. It might be a building block from Brazil, a block from Estonia, something from India. But when I bring it together and customize it and let it speak to my use case, then I solve my problem. So I'm able to move from identifying a problem, analyzing, coming up with a solution, implementing the solution, and solving the problem in a rapidly short amount of time because of that collaborative effort. And I think for me, that's what sticks out the most, yes. So I think for me, it's not really any one organization or any one engagement. So you'll allow me to speak broadly in this particular context. If we are in a science lab, you could then kind of strip away and say, this is the one enzyme that's responsible for this reaction. But you can't really do that in this space. But I think one specific learning that has come from our implementation and our collaborative efforts is, as we look to solve problems, the solutions that we get can become foundational blocks for DPI in a country's journey. So rather than say we need a super express highway, which requires a significant amount of investment, the question is, can we solve a problem in a community using DPI principles? Can we solve a problem in a particular sector using DPI principles? And if it works in that setting, how then do we scale it so that it becomes the superhighway that we were looking to build? One of the key principles or success factors, I would say, for any DPI is trust. Trust by the people who are going to use the DPI to better their lives. Trust by the people who are going to invest in the development of that DPI, that it will achieve the outcomes it's supposed to achieve. Trust by the government that's supposed to moderate that space or that environment and create that enabling environment for that DPI to work. And so when you solve for a small problem, whether it's in a village, in a town, using DPI, you immediately earn the trust of all of these three particular areas because you have a tangible example. As you said, you like examples. You have a tangible example of where it is working, where it is making a difference, where outcomes can clearly be seen and impact is experienced in that particular area. And when you tell that story and say, let's scale, it's a lot easier to navigate than when you have a great PowerPoint presentation of a super highway that you would like people to believe, fund, and invest in. So that would be, I think, my single biggest takeaway, to say, let's solve for the use cases using DPI principles. And in that, we get the foundational blocks that we need for the bigger DPI journey. The biggest thing for me is deepening and strengthening the collaborative efforts. So CDPI has really been able to open certain doors for us to have those conversations. In some cases, the conversations have progressed part of the way, but I think we now have a very real opportunity to deepen, to transition those conversations to action collaboratively. We understand what problems we are trying to solve. We understand what sort of assistance we need. We understand where we are in terms of the journey towards those solutions. And now through the collaborative efforts through CDPI, we've been able to see and engage with other countries and other organizations' journeys, seen possible areas of synergy that will help accelerate some of our own work. And so really in the next few months to a year, I really see that opportunity to strengthen, deepen, and push those conversations to action, thus allowing us to then start harvesting the outcomes and the impact that we have been looking forward to. Come, let's talk. Essentially, people are doing phenomenal work. People are doing great work. And it's not always we have the opportunity to be able to show what it is that we are doing. And therefore, you have other people who are struggling when it could be a very easy trajectory for them if they simply knew what the other people were doing. So I think just amplifying the voices of the organizations that are doing so much work then helps me see what solutions out there, but also helps me share the solutions that I have. And we're then very able to accelerate the roadmap to get us to the destination where we need to get to. So really that would be my message. Come, let us talk. I think the only thing for me is that technology abounds, but we as African people are the ones who understand our context, our issues, and our problems. A colleague of mine always says that in the US at NASA, the problems that they are trying to solve is how to get to Mars, what's beyond the galaxy, etc. But that same technology that they are using is technology that I can take and re-engineer to solve the issues and the problems that I have on the continent, because I understand them and I know where they will make the biggest impact. And so my message will be, answers are not going to come from anywhere else but us. And that's why it's important for us to talk, to collaborate, and to come together to solve the problems on the continent.